Funding for Yale Cancer Answers is provided by Smilow Cancer Hospital. Welcome to Yale Cancer Answers with the director of the Yale Cancer Center, Dr. Eric Weiner. Yale Cancer Answers features conversations with oncologists and specialists who are on the forefront of the battle to fight cancer. This week, it's a conversation about the Hole in the Wall Gang camp with its Chief Program Officer, Hilary Axtmayer. Here's Dr. Weiner.
So I know that Hole in the Wall started now over 3 decades ago. It started in 1988 and was started, I believe, by Paul Newman and his wife. Is that correct?
That's right, by Paul Newman. Yep, by Paul Newman and a host of other founders as well. But it was Paul Newman's vision, and he, alongside with A. Hotchner, wanted to create a place where kids could be kids, and as he famously said, raise a little hell, and specifically for kids who had serious illnesses.
I think it's the case that kids with serious illnesses don't really have a lot of opportunities to go to camp, certainly not to go to camp with other kids who share those same experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And so camp was founded in 1988. So it's 37 years later. The great work and the vision that Mr. Newman had is just what an incredible legacy he has left. So yes, he identified that there was very limited programs for kids with serious illnesses. And, one thing that I always think about when what he created and what it has become today is he spoke a lot about, people asked him, why did you do this? Why did you want to start a camp for kids with cancer and who were sick? And he said he wanted to acknowledge luck and the chance and the benevolence of it in his own life and the brutality of it in the lives of others, and specifically children with serious illnesses. He went to summer camp as a kid, and I think he recognized that it was a real rite of passage for my kids go to camp. I went to camp. We love camp is such an incredible milestone for kids, and these kids who he identified really early on would not have the opportunity to do that. So he identified this beautiful piece of land in northeastern Connecticut, and here we are, almost 40 years later, with just incredible program growth, and which I'll tell you about tonight. But we're really proud of the work that was started a long time ago.
And how long have you worked there?
So I started as a summer camp counselor when I was 19 years old after my freshman year of college. I loved camp. I went to camp as a kid. I was a camp kid. And I was also interested in public health and wanted to, and unbeknownst to me, there was this place that provided these incredible programs, and it was near where I grew up. And so I started as a 19-year-old college student, and that was about 23 years ago. And it changed my life. I saw that first summer, the power and the impact of just this transformative experience that camp creates for the kids that we serve. And so I've been involved ever since in a number of capacities. But now I serve as our Chief Program Officer.
And have you had other jobs along the way?
I have, but I really stayed pretty close to Hole in the Wall, I have to say. I think I'm one of these rarities. Most people, jump from job to job. But I knew what I wanted pretty early on. I had some other experiences similarly around providing psychosocial support programs and interventions for children in Boston, as well as overseas, as part of internships and programs for my master's in social work and public health. So I had the great opportunity to travel to sub-Saharan Africa and East Africa and work with children with HIV and AIDS setting up programs, psychosocial support programs, and very similar to the work that we do in Connecticut and now into the Mid-Atlantic as well.
And the camp has grown a great deal over the years. I mean, I'm sure when it started, there were, some number of weeks in the summer, and you probably served 50 or 100 kids at a time. And now, how many children attend camp at one or another camp during the course of the summer?
Yes. So that first summer, we served in 1988, we served 288 children that first summer. And now through all of our programs, again, in our on-site programs, family outreach programs, our hospital outreach programs, we are serving upwards of 30,000 children annually. And we're really excited about our expansion into the Mid-Atlantic area. We're building a second camp, a second location where we look forward to opening our doors about a year from now, where we'll get to serve children with similar populations that we serve in Connecticut, but also some rare diseases too, where children otherwise would not be able to experience that transformative magic of camp.
How sick can kids be to go to the camp? I'm sure you have some criteria in terms of what a child must be able to do to be there. I know you have a lot of assistance, but if you're a parent of a child who's has significant impairments, who might need to be hospitalized during the course of the summer, is the camp still a place that's open to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is one thing that, the medical safety in general is the most important thing in everything that we do from programmatically. We have essentially a small hospital on site for our on-site programs, where we have a full-time medical director, a full-time nursing director, and then we hire a nurse who's full-time as well, and then we hire about 8 to 10 seasonal nurses for our summer program. And then every single session when we're serving our kiddos in the summer, we're going to have anywhere between 5 and 8 physicians, usually specialists. We work very closely with a number of hospitals along the Northeast and into the Mid-Atlantic, where the physicians of a child will be at camp the same session. And just, imagine that. How magical is that they're getting to see their provider outside of the hospital setting, fishing and playing with them. And that's not only powerful for the child, but for the provider as well. So this clinic, this infirmary that we have on site can provide all of the treatments that child may need, whether that is an infusion, IV fluids, chemotherapy, whatever they need, we're going to be able to provide that to the child on site. And then if we're not able to care for that child on site, we're going to be able to get them quickly off camp to a nearby medical center.
Well, as one who believes and has talked about partnering with patients, I think it's the ultimate partnership to have a child and that child's doctor at camp together. And that must be really an incredible experience for the child, an incredible experience for the doctor, and just so reassuring for the parents to know that they're leaving their child in what would seem to be the safest possible hands. Do you have kids who come back summer after summer?
We do. Yeah. So we have a number of kids, in particular, our kids with sickle cell disease. We partner with local clinics I shouldn't say local, in the Northeast. We work very closely with about 40 hospitals or clinics, and we partner with their child life specialists and social workers and nurses. And so they're really helping with that recruitment part of the program. So we may say to Yale Children's Hospital, you're we're going to have 30 spots for our sickle cell session, and they're going to identify what kids are going to come. So we see some of our kids year after year, and they really they drink the camp Kool-Aid and they get it. They know how wonderful it is, and one of the best parts, the success stories of camp, is when those kids who've come to camp year after year then come back as a counselor. And we usually have around 30% actually of our seasonal counselors on site have been former campers. And again, that when you see a parent or caregiver drop off their child, and to know that the young person who is taking care of their child has been in their child's footsteps, has walked this path, experienced the journey that they're on. You just literally sort of see their shoulders drop, and they take that deep breath, and they know that their kid is going to be okay this week at camp, and also provides that hope for the future as well.
And the age range of the children?
So for our summer program, we serve our traditional summer program. We serve kids between the ages of 7 and 15, and then we also have a adolescent and young adult program, and so that's for our 16 to 18-year-olds. But then on our family weekends, which was something we learned along the way, camp started again as this summer program, traditional summer camp, but we learned that it was the entire family needed camp just as much as the patient or the diagnosed child. So we added family weekends throughout the spring and throughout the fall. And so we'll have the entire family come to camp and get to experience that. And so we'll see kids as young as 4 or 5 who are diagnosed experience those family weekends.
And during the regular summer season, how long does a kid stay?
So our sessions are 6 to 7 days each session. So, which is, I have young kids, and I think about, gosh, what an incredible risk, and to drop off your child with strangers for 6 or 7 days. But again, that just shows that the trust that we have, and recognizing how impactful this experience is. So yeah, they're there for a whole week. And they don't call home. The parents and caregivers may check in with our medical folks, and our counselors will call them back. But they're definitely not chatting with their child throughout the week.
And you don't have parents who are lurking in the woods around the camp.
Sometimes it's hard to get them to leave, that's for sure. But we have this just wonderful community of volunteers, and a lot of them are former parents of campers, and so they're very helpful for that purpose as well, reassuring those new parents in particular of just how positive this experience will be for their kiddos.
Well, we're going to have to take just a brief break, but when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. We'll talk about some of the specific activities that kids get involved in there, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Support for Yale Cancer Answers comes from Smilo Cancer Hospital, where their thyroid care ablation program offers an alternative, non-surgical approach to treating symptomatic or aesthetically unappealing thyroid nodules. SmiloCancerHospital.org. The American Cancer Society estimates that nearly 150,000 people in the U.S. will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer this year alone. When detected early, colorectal cancer is easily treated and highly curable, and men and women over the age of 45 should have regular colonoscopies to screen for the disease. Patients with colorectal cancer have more hope than ever before thanks to increased access to advanced therapies and specialized care. Clinical trials are currently underway at federally designated comprehensive cancer centers, such as Yale Cancer Center and at Smilo Cancer Hospital, to test innovative new treatments for colorectal cancer. Tumor gene analysis has helped improve management of colorectal cancer by identifying the patients most likely to benefit from chemotherapy and newer targeted agents, resulting in more patient-specific treatment. More information is available at yalecancercenter.org. You're listening to Connecticut Public Radio.
Hello again. This is Eric Weiner with Yale Cancer Answers, and I'm joined tonight by Hilary Axtmayer, who is the Chief Program Officer for the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp, a camp that's been in existence since 1988, serving the needs of kids with chronic and severe illnesses. And I wanted to get into talking a little more about what the kids do at camp. And so I'm sure there's the usual assortment of athletic activities that in some cases may have to be adjusted given what a child may be able to do. And I'm sure you have arts and crafts. But what I'm actually more interested in is the interactions that the kids have with each other. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what those interactions are like, how you facilitate them, because I could imagine that being a sick kid and being able to talk to somebody else who's perhaps walking or has walked in your shoes could be really powerful.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the magic right there of all of our programs, not just our camp program, but our hospital outreach program, our family outreach program. It's the connections. It's the connections with the campers, and I'll speak a little bit about that. But it's also the connections that we see with the parents and the caregivers. We run parent caregiver only retreats as part of our family outreach programs, where we bring families together, new families who have a new diagnosis or are new to camp, and they have opportunities to get in the same room and talk about what it felt like receiving this diagnosis. Your child has cancer, your child has this disease, this condition, whatever it is. And what that isolation that they feel immediately. But once they're able to talk out loud to someone else who's had that experience, everything sort of focuses in, and they're able to really pick that person's brain, share experiences. But I think most importantly that they feel like they're not alone, and they feel like they don't have to explain everything. I hear parents say this all the time, that you just get it. When you're sitting in the room with someone who's been on that journey, you don't have to explain it. You just get it. And so I think, to your original question, that's what our kids experience when they're at camp, is that they don't have to explain why they have to take this kind of medication, because they're all taking a kind of medication. And they don't have to explain why they're in a wheelchair or why they aren't able to access our climbing wall the same way as someone else. They're all having, and everyone is so kind. And I think with what these kids have gone through and the experience that they've lived, they're so open and so wanting to look out for each other. So the kindness and compassion that we see at camp, we always say to the kids, we just need to bottle up this kindness and compassion and bring this outside those gates of camp, because that's what they're doing. That's how they're treating one another.
And I'm sure you have heard just so many incredible conversations between the kids.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is, it's the classic, the kids are brushing their teeth at night and, oh, you have a brain tumor? I have a brain tumor too. And they're like, okay, cool. Want to get back into the cabin? And it's just that ability to casually talk about their diagnosis without the shock that other people may feel when someone shares that news with them. One of my favorite traditions in our camp program is we have cabin chat. So at the end of the night, after all the activities, we all sit together in the cabin and a counselor poses a question around, it could be what was the favorite part of your day, or if you had a giant pool, what would you fill it with? But this is the time of day where it gets, we don't necessarily specifically talk about there's a child's diagnosis, but for our older kids, it's really a chance for them to be able to talk about their experiences and those shared experiences and what it's like for them at school or how much school they've missed, and that those are really the takeaways from.
And do they talk about how they feel sometimes at school somewhat marginalized or not part of the mainstream because of their illness?
Yeah, they do. They share, that they, in particular, just that they miss so much school, and they miss birthday parties, and they miss the opportunity to be like kids. And that is why camp is there. It provides this opportunity for them just to be kids and to play and to laugh and to, as Paul Newman said, to raise a little hell. So that is, it's everywhere in what we do, but it's subtle. I mean, what you just see when people say to me, "Oh, it must be so hard what you do. It must be so sad." And I say, "Oh no, you're so wrong. It is not sad. You walk onto camp and it's just electric. The energy and the kindness. It's the happiest place that I've ever been to."
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And, the other facet of so many of their lives is they can't always predict what's going to happen. So it's not just missing the birthday. It's thinking you're going to the birthday party and then at the last minute not being able to go. That
change of plans, absolutely. The disruption, absolutely. They're feeling that all the time. And so it's what I think what camp can provide in addition to the opposite of isolation is this. It's the normalcy that they feel like they are a part of something, that they're experiencing childhood just like their peers.
And what happens when one of the kids gets sick and has to leave? And how does that reverberate around with the others?
Well, I think one thing that I've learned over the time is, goodness, are kids way more resilient than adults. So that's just one thing that the kids are pretty adaptable to these situations.
And not only emotionally, but physically. I mean, kids heal up so quickly.
Absolutely. And we see this all the time. So, I mean, I think that exists. That's part of it. But there is the empathy. I think it's a different level of empathy than maybe other kids, that when they know what it's like to have to leave something. And so if a child does need to leave to go to the hospital in the middle of the session, we send counselors with the child to the hospital. We have this extensive hospital outreach program. So we will connect with our hospital outreach staff and say, by the way, so-and-so from the blue cabin is coming to the hospital. And so they'll continue that camp experience for them at the hospital.
And I assume that it then leads to conversations the next day with the kids who are, of course, left at the camp.
Yes. Yeah. There's questions, and we share what we can. But again, there's this incredible understanding from the kids around, why that this happens. They've experienced this before. They've had to leave the birthday parties before, the school, whatever it may be. So it is, I think, they just have a different perspective than other kids would.
Do you have kids who have HIV and AIDS at the camp?
We do. Yeah, we do. We were one of the first programs in the United States, actually.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so we're very, very, very proud of that history, that very early on with the HIV/AIDS epidemic in our country, we did start serving children with HIV as early as 91. So we still do for 10, 15 years. We had specific sessions for children with HIV and AIDS. And we have two sessions specifically for kids with sickle cell disease, and then we had 2 sessions for kids with HIV and AIDS, and we had general sessions for kids with oncology and metabolic diseases, and then other diseases that we serve. However, there's good news in this, is that
now you mix them all together.
We don't have enough kids to fill our HIV and AIDS sessions, so we have a very small number of kids, just because of the incredible medication that's available for kids who are born or who's get HIV through mother-to-child transmission.
Yeah, no, we can only hope that same degree of medical advance occurs for all other diseases.
Absolutely.
Because it has been really breathtaking to see what's happened with HIV, both for adults and for kids over these years. So I want to just, in our last few minutes, touch on something a little different. I know when we met, and I should tell the audience that Hilary and I met not because we were thinking about doing this show together, but because we were interested in exploring other sorts of things that Yale could do with the camp.
Yep.
But Hilary shared with me that she herself had breast cancer. And I just want to ask, and you have children, and we just talked about that, how your experience at camp affected how you dealt with your own illness, and maybe how it helped you understand how your kids were affected by it.
Yes. So,
and not that I mean to put you on the spot.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. No, I think it's really impacted and changed the way I think about my work. As I've said, I've been doing this work for over 20 years, working very closely with children with cancer, working very closely with their parents, and seeing the impact of a diagnosis on the entire family, the siblings, the parents, the grandparents, everybody, not just the patient. And so I feel like I came to my own diagnosis with a really different perspective. So I was diagnosed just about a year and a half ago with breast cancer, and I'm doing very well thanks to all the wonderful providers at Smilo and my wonderful family. But I think that knowing the perspective that I had, learning the resilience from the kids that I saw, from the parents and the caregivers. I mean, I thought often throughout my treatment, oh my goodness, if these brave children could do this, yeah, I can get through this. But then in particular for my kids, as you said, really recognizing how the diagnosis impacted all of us, and especially my young children, and especially for someone my age to have received this diagnosis with having young kids at home. It's a real journey, but I'm very grateful for the support that I've had.
Hilary Axtmayer is the Chief Program Officer of the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp. If you have questions, the address is canceranswers@yale.edu, and past editions of the program are available in audio and written form at yalecancercenter.org. We hope you'll join us next time to learn more about the fight against cancer. Funding for Yale Cancer Answers is provided by Smilo Cancer Hospital.